Good morning, it's Brian here. Welcome back to the Art of Startup War. Again, we have a phenomenal entrepreneur that we at Expert Dojo have invested in. Yes, we've put our money into because we believe this company is going to build a $1 billion company. So I want to welcome to you this morning Chethan from over in Syntactic, a phenomenal company bringing incredible innovation to the world. Chethan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ben. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. So we're going to go deep in here, and we're going to go deep into some of the technology that's required to keep the world turning. And so when we get companies like this and technologies like this, we get incredibly excited. Now we're going to talk a little bit about your journey, and we're going to talk about the difficulties of building it and how you got here today. And we're going to look at where you go to in the future. Most of the people who are listening to this are other investors that are looking at follow-on investment into the company. So we'll also touch a little bit of the terms and just what makes your company so different from everybody else. But before we do that, talk to us a little bit about Syntactic and just the genesis of the idea.
So thanks, Ben. So basically, we started Syntactic a couple of years back. 2019 is when we started Syntactic. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of the company. Along with me, I had my co-founder Ashish. So basically, me and Ashish together worked for almost 2.5, 3 years prior to this, wherein we are part of a large IT services company, working with some of the large enterprise customers, helping them with the digital transformation. And as a part of that journey, we saw that there's a good amount of inclination by all these organizations getting into analytics or AI machine learning. But while working with them, I would say that the major problem that all these companies had or the recurring problem that they faced was with the complex data that they had. So getting into analytics, AI, machine learning is of no use unless you have the right structured data in place, right? So that was one of the biggest challenges all these companies were facing. And the biggest elephant in the room was the complex data. And I think we all would agree today that data is the new economy, right? That's been kind of getting created, generated at an rate unprecedented in the history as well. But all this data is intended to do something better for the organization. But as per the facts, less than half of the data, or as per the facts, 87% of the data initiatives never get into production these days. And all these companies had the major problem in terms of huge amount of data, right? Which was coming in different format, different structures, different languages all together, right? And about that, they were all kind of vendor locked in by all these current infrastructure providers. Like either they have that data stored in one of the cloud servers or on premises. They never let this data out of the system as well. And all this legacy infrastructure kind of block them away. And if you're still able to solve that, the other biggest problem was in terms of the communication between the teams as well, right? The silo department that was never talking to each other, right? And above all, there's a huge skill set scarcity in the market when it comes to data-driven decision making. And these are the problems that we saw very repeated across every customer that we worked with. And that kind of triggered across I would say, the idea of syntactic AI. Basically, that's where we thought, where it's always a manual or human-driven effort that is going into there. How could we automate that? Wherein build a platform that would kind of handle the entire data lifecycle, right? From collection of the data, preparing the data, getting it ready for the AI machine learning initiative was the some of the thought that we kind of came across and started Syntactic. And it's been 2.5 years now that we've been working on the concept so far. And having been working with some of the companies ranging from mature startups who are in their early stage of their data maturity cycle to larger enterprises as well who already have adopted. I think we've been having great learning, great thought process, and also building the ecosystem around that is something that's kind of helping us to bring the platform ahead.
Right, wonderful. It's funny. Some people talk about data as the new oil. I think
Yeah.
of it as a very busy city with way too many inhabitants where there are all these super highways. And you think of these spaghetti junctions with super highways where there's cars going this way and this way and this way and this
Right.
way. And then you're sitting in your car and you're thinking, there's too many cars in this city and the highways are all blocked and everybody's trying to go one direction or another direction, and then everybody's trying to jump off the highway so they can go onto a side road so they can get to where they're going to quicker. It's just become really difficult because data has become so incredibly important and there's so much of it that now large organizations, they just don't know what to do. They're just so confused. They're so bogged down with such large amounts of data that they're starting
Exactly.
to make terrible decisions based on just not being able to analyze that properly. So look, everybody would agree it's a huge problem, but there are a number of people trying to solve that problem. Like, what was it specifically that you had that eureka moment on that you thought, we've got it? We can help make companies' lives easier by help them understand that data better.
I would say it's the experience that you make you better, right? So it eventually starts with you build up your product and have it tested by some of the customers out there, and that's exactly what we did. And we had our beta out in the market and had a couple of larger enterprises, worked on our product, even though they had an internal team as well, internal existing tools that they were using as well, right? So that is where we kind of wanted to kind of compare ourselves with them. And when the moment of truth came into place, when our software was able to give them better results or better prediction or better accuracy by the process that they followed in terms of getting the data right. I mean, it's the same process that they used by their team with the other tool as well, and they did using our tool, and we were able to give almost 8 to 10% better result, better accuracy. That was a moment of truth that kind of stuck us, and it was more like a wow factor for us too, right? Okay, hey, yes, I think we cracked it, right? And everybody, I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of companies are trying to solve that, right? A lot of companies are facing the same problem over there. So the moment that you see that, okay, your software is able to kind of give that better solution to them at much faster rates, much accurate rate, nothing like it. And that's where we thought, okay, this is the right time for us to kind of go ahead and replicate the model to other customers as well. So that's what I think, working with a couple of initial enterprises as a POC that converted into paid pilot. Now these enterprises are working with us on subscription as well. I think that's the thing that is giving us a very good, I think that's giving us a goosebumps saying, okay, yes, we are in the right direction in terms of solving the problem which is existing in a different way. I think that's where we stand today.
Fantastic. And I know that first moment when those companies suddenly say, yes, it made a difference. And when you talk about like 8 or 10% to a large enterprise company, this is huge.
Huge.
And
Absolutely.
to be able to make that kind of margin is phenomenal. Speak to us a little bit about where you're based, the team, who it's comprised of, and what made the people that were building this so special. Because what you're doing is you're bringing something which is so incredibly complex. And the entire objective is that automation and simplicity. But automation and simplicity is maybe one of the most difficult things that you can do in technology. So I want to get behind it. Just before we dig into your journey, I want to get in behind it a little bit and understand, like, what was the team that actually built this? And what's your environment like for that build?
Absolutely. We are based out of Bangalore, India currently. And I talk about myself. I've been a serial entrepreneur. Started my entrepreneurship journey in 2014. Had my both stint as a failure as a first company, then that gave us a good learning in terms of what not to do. My second company was a pretty good exit for me. And that gives, again, a good learning, right? And every step that you kind of pass through as an entrepreneur, you learn a lot from that. And during this journey, that the company that acquired my previous company is where I met my co-founder, Ashish. Ashish came from a very strong data, DevOps, and infrastructure background, and that gave a pretty good, strong, founder team combination, right? I myself consider myself a hustler here, and he's a hacker. So this hustler and hacker combination worked out pretty good for us initially, and then we went on looking for the right mindset to join us, because we are not here for a short term or in terms of building some random product that would get some kind of a faster exit or something. We are here to build an ecosystem in terms of driving the data-driven decision making across the organization. So we wanted to get the right mindset, people from the data domain, people who understand the value in it and who can contribute to the ecosystem as well. So that's where we went on with the connections that we had built earlier as an entrepreneurs and as a the experience that we brought on. So the team comprised of serial entrepreneurs and more likely the data enthusiasts, basically everybody coming from the data domain who pretty much had their own companies earlier as well. So that gave us a pretty strong base for us when we started. And we quickly, within 8 to 9 months, we had our beta out, and we're still running on our beta, adding more and more features based on the customer's feedback as well. Yeah, that's what the team currently is, and pretty solid in terms of the understanding and the roadmap that we have. I think we are very clear in terms of where we want to get into.
Wonderful. And then, so for those people who are unaware of what's happening in Bangalore right now, and maybe even greater India, it's incredible. Like, as investors, we're putting a ton of money into India. Bangalore seems like one of the most exciting cities in the world. There's this hub of entrepreneurship that I haven't seen. I don't even know ever before. It's something so new. It's like Startup Nation out of Israel multiplied by 1,000. Share with us a little bit about what's going on over there and why this is such an exciting hub and such a great opportunity for investors.
I'm not sure in terms of why, but this has been the Silicon Valley of India, right, from quite a long time. And I would say there has been a change in terms of the mindset of the entrepreneurs. I mean, even my first startup or the second startup was pretty much into the services lines. We were considered as the service organization, typically built product for others, right? I think, but this has changed in the last 4 or 5 years now. The service mentality has kind of gone back, and people have started thinking the product-driven mentality, right? So, where India is considered as one of the, I would say, a hub for building products as well, not just a service organization helping others to build the products too. I think that shift has come here, and I would say the greater contribution has come from the universities here, the academic side of it. I think there's been we currently work with one of the largest university in the southern India. And we see that the kind of adoption that they're making from the technology side is incredible. I mean, well, comparing 2 decades back when I graduated from my engineering, and now I would say there's a gradual shift that is happening, and probably that's one of the reason as well. A good amount of entrepreneurs are coming out of the colleges and ecosystem as well, right? And right after the colleges, these guys having such a good, I would say the VCs backing them, or kind of support that they're getting from the venture capital market here. Right after college, they are actually getting funded to build a company of their own and build out the product together. Right? I think it's been incredible, and also I think there's a good amount of the support from the Silicon Valley as well. I mean, right from the US market or across the globe as well. A good amount of money has been kind of poured into this. Towards India as well, looking at it as a startup hub, right? I would say a very good shift that is happening, and I would say the credit goes to the entrepreneurs who are like I would say last year itself we saw almost like 17 unicorns coming out of India. I mean, that's amazing thing to hear right out, right? And there are larger companies like Zomato going for IPO just a couple of weeks back, and another 5 or 6 in line for an IPO. All this is kind of giving very good encouragement and motivating the youngsters who want to get into entrepreneurship, and I think this is going to drive it in a long way now.
India, without question, is the most exciting ecosystem on the planet right now. I remember looking back about 2 years or so, and we made our first investment in India, I think 2.5 years ago. But when we first made our investment in, I looked in and I thought, oh gosh, okay, we've got 17 unicorns ever in India. Crikey, that's going to be slightly slow burn to go up. And then suddenly, within 6 to 9 months, there was another 15 unicorns. Yeah. I don't even know how. I mean, this year there may be as many as 60, 70 unicorns. Like literally going from zero, I mean in the next 12 months, but like going from 0 or 2 or 3 or 4 unicorns to this amount of unicorns, what this is gold. Because now investors can get into companies, because think about how Silicon Valley works. No normal investor was going to get into any really good unicorns in Silicon Valley. Why? Because it was a closed shop. The SoftBanks, the Sequoias, the A16s, everybody else, they already owned the market, especially the later stage. And any smaller investors would get pushed out. In India right now, absolute dynasties are being made because people are coming in, able to invest in companies like yourselves and make 1,000, 2,000 times return because what do they have? Proven entrepreneur, already exited before, deep domain expertise, working in an area which is one of the most difficult and challenging areas in the world right now, but the one that everybody needs a solution for. You've got a country which is just getting on fire, and you've got the ability to get development and technology built for 1/10 of what it would have cost in Silicon Valley. Right. So what you've built so far, we would have had to have gone through at least a Series A to have been able to afford to pay to have all of the people building what you're building. In your case, you've just built it up. So on that level, my message to investors listening to this is watch what's happening. Get involved. Invest in companies like this. It is an opportunity that will not exist in 3 or 4 years' time. It is now, but you have the opportunity to be able to get it. So going past that, your story, Tell us a little bit. Look, I love the phrase from Elon Musk, which is like entrepreneurship is like chewing glass while staring in the abyss, right? It's just hard. Anybody who does it has to be totally insane. I know most of us are insane, but like you have to be totally insane. Talk to us about some of the more difficult parts of setting up this company or getting it started. And for you, it may have even been going back a company or two as you made some of the earlier mistakes. And I want to take you through the hero's journey where we can look at the difficult bits of setting it up, the bits where you almost couldn't make it through, and then we'll bring it all the way through to kind of where you are today.
Right. I think, it's always success doesn't happen overnight, right? And it's stepping stones for that. And I think we still have a long way to go there. But yeah, right from we started, I would say, but I think one of the things that we were very clear was getting the right team in place. Myself and Ashish, one thing that we always wanted, I mean, it's again, it's a personal mistake that we did previously. We wanted to, this time, no mistake in terms of getting the right team in place. So probably initially that was one of the hard challenges as well. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a very hot market here in Bangalore as well, right? So getting hold of the right developer, everybody's chasing them, and how do you make them kind of join you with the vision that you're showing is very important, right? And and initially, when you're not backed by a big investor for you, and it's very hard to kind of convince the even developers to ask them, telling you, okay, hey, this is a vision you have, come and join us, right? So I think that was one of the difficult steps. And for that, I think initially we kind of hustled a lot. We had to build a small version of the entire product and then go to the developers, not just for the investors. We are going to developers and showing, hey, this is the vision, this is how it's going to work out, right? And create that wow factor in the developers and make them join us. So that was the first hurdle that we crossed. And once we crossed that, I would say, we pretty much within 8 months to 9 months, we had our beta on, and but soon after that, the pandemic started, and we were left nowhere. And when you're in the early stage of your sales cycle, wanted more and more enterprises or organizations to start using your platform to give you the feedback. And it's a pandemic over there. Everybody is kind of hesitant in terms of adopting something new. Everybody's wanted to conserve their money, not try to spend on the money, investments, right? So that was I think hardest time that we had. Last year, somewhere around the first quarter till almost September, we had very tough time. I think that's where I thought our leadership skills and also as a team it evolved. We matured a lot. Without having much of investment, literally having no customers. There were no customers that we were paying you to pay the employees as well. We went back straight to the employees and told, hey, this is a tough time, but the vision that we have, and what we're going through as well. Just stay with us for a while and we'll cross this. So I think soon after the situation got better, and since September till today, I think we have got almost
before we go there, because I want to take us to the beautiful side of the hero's journey as well. But I want to stay for a moment because a lot of investors really we see the glamour, and I say I've been through this myself, but like investors see the glamour of the entrepreneur breaking through, and then everybody sees you on Crunchbase, and it's $1 billion company, and Chethan has made it, and his team is incredible, and Synctactic is one of the biggest companies in the world, right there on the Nasdaq. But what they don't see is the misery and the drudgery and the difficulty and just how hard it is to get there. So when you were in that moment where you're the leader of the organization, you are going through the worst pandemic, probably the worst time we've gone through in our lifetimes, right? You have a team that you're trying to bring forward. You're building a product which you can't put out to customers because the product's not ready yet. You're still developing and creating it. How do you motivate your team to stay with you during these really hard times when you yourself don't have proof from the customers that this is going to work?
I think the one thing that we kind of adopted was being transparent with the team. Initially it was like talk more on the vision, tell them, hey, this is what we get into, because things will be fine. But when you realize that it's not going to happen very easily, right? I think it's better to be transparent with the team, and that's where we were very open with the team in terms of what's exactly happening. And there were times individually, myself and Ashish have directly spoken to developers, everybody individually as well, and we were not able to meet them in person because of the pandemic, right? Spending there were times when we developers were get very worried and get back to us telling, okay, hey, I need to pay my bills. I really need you guys to get me something, right? I mean, we really pulled up our socks and even have paid from our personal expenses, how much we could at that point of time, right? And after that, talking to them, kind of telling them, hey, just stay with us for a while, right? And showing them the entire picture as well. That's very important, right? I mean, the initial team that has come to you, believing your vision, and it still wanted to kind of stay with you for a long, I think nothing like it. So I think you have to be really, really open and transparent with them, telling them the entire thing that you're doing and showing them a really good roadmap in terms of, how exactly you're going to do that as well. And that's what we did. I mean, that's the only thing I would say. Still, the people who stayed with us are the ones who probably be with us till we kind of grow it to a unicorn as well, I guess so. Because, that's the team, or that's the motivation that they gave us, in fact, that, they're going to stay with us too. I think the times were not easy. Frankly speaking, the times were really not easy. There was times we kind of broke down as well, and thinking, okay, there's no way to go. But still, I think as an entrepreneur, I think you have this zeal from internal, the inside that comes out, right, and tells, okay, you can't give it up, right? Still, you need to do it, and that's what we did. We kept on building more and more features to the product. We just didn't, see what's, how the situation going to pan out, but we instead kept on building it. And I think there was a moment when we offered it to a first enterprise customer, and as I told initially, the wow factor that came in, right? I think that kind of paid for everything.
And I want to get to that moment in a second, but I think you bring up a really important lesson for all entrepreneurs and investors listening to this, is that the great leaders understand the importance of honesty and transparency. The cheap salesperson leaders will just tell everybody it's going to be okay. We'll send out a memo and say everything's fine. We'll fool themselves. But the great leaders understand the real challenges that people are facing, the personal hardships that your team are going through, and then directly confront those. And especially when it comes to like taking money out of your personal money to make sure that people can pay their stuff. That's brutal because it's not like you can afford to do that. You get to a stage where you're fighting two battles on two different fronts. Like the first one is, I need to make sure my team is okay. And that transparency and that honesty, that will carry with you all the way through in this organization. It builds culture and strength within a team, whereby you build an army prepared to do anything for you because they know that you're honest and transparent and you'll take care of them. The other front is with yourself, because you have to wake up in the morning. Like when you were going through that phase, when you still hadn't had that first client validation, you were still building. You're thinking, oh, this pandemic has hit me. I don't deserve that. My development is taking longer. I don't deserve that because we have the pandemic. My people are away from me. I don't have them in the office. I don't deserve that. Like, how did you give yourself the motivation, both of you, to be able to continue moving forward, and especially in such a powerful way?
No, I would say I think it was almost every day. I used to call my co-founder, and my co-founder used to call me and tell me, it's like we knew that though we were not openly telling each other that, hey, I'm really scared, but still each other kind of motivated ourselves and motivated each other as well. And that kind of, made us go and motivate the team as well, right? I think, people tell getting the right co-founder is like getting a wife for your lifetime, right? I think that's exactly at that point of time I realized, okay, I found a great, partner for my company. And even there are times Ashish told me that I found a great, partner for the journey as well, right? I think that's very important. I think there's a point, even it's more like, without me telling something, Ashish was in a position to understand that what I'm going through, or without he telling me something, I was in position to understand what he's going through as well, right? I think that's the time we realize, okay, this is something that's going to bind us for a long time, and we need to come through this, right? Times come and go. Hard times doesn't last for long, right? And we kind of motivate ourselves, keep telling that every day. And now I think, we're past that.
Amazing.
We're past that.
It seems short when it's going through, but it's the strength. I always say this to other investors. The reason behind your investment decision should not just be the company. It shouldn't just be a product, because things change and terrible times come. You have to look at the strength of the people themselves. Those times when you were in your earliest and most difficult and most fragile state, they're the times that entrepreneurs get judged on, and you fought through admirably. So now we're going through the hero's journey. You've gone through these difficult times. Everybody's fighting you. It's tough. You're trying to keep your team going forward. The pandemic is hitting you on all fronts, and you're like, no, we're going to make it through. And you break through, and you get your product, and you get it out to your first customer. And your customer comes back to you, and you have that meeting with your customer, and they say to you, what?
No, basically they told it's what their internal team and the previous tool that they were using, they couldn't get it. They got it using our tool, right? And it was not just 1 or 2% increase. I mean, we are in the data science field, so it's all about predictions. End of the day, right? I mean, you build a better forecast for whatever you're working on, and they told we were able to achieve 8 to 10% better accuracy, and that was the time we are like, yes. I mean, what we did was it's all paid. It's all worth it, right? So that's the
And how
moment.
did that
Yeah.
feel? How did that feel?
I mean,
You're in that
amazing.
meeting, you're with the customer. They're like, we had this huge thing. Like, did they have one person there, two, five? Was there at a table? Were they smiling? Paint a picture of what that first moment was
No,
when that
actually, it
validation
was,
was done.
yeah, the validation, I mean, it was a US customer. I mean, it is typically we have this 12-hour difference between them. I got a call at almost 12:30. I was just hitting bed and I got a call from the point of contact we were working, and he told, Chetan, you know what? We were able to get 10% better accuracy and your models hit right on target. I was like, okay, yes, now I can have a deep sleep now, right? I mean, it was a night 12:30 in the night, and he gives me a call and told, we are pretty happy and we would like to take it further from here, right? And I was like, yes, I think we knew that that point of time, at least on a monthly basis, we're going to get paid now, right? So that kind of gives a very good feeling in terms of, okay, yes, we have done something really, achievable here.
And when did you realize that you were building a unicorn? So when did you realize? So that moment is a really pivotal moment because that's like, oh my goodness, 10% increase, large US customer. It's made a difference to them. I can now multiply this out by X amount of
Yeah.
customers. Like, to talk to us about how that journey looks like going forward, and especially that moment when you thought, we have something enormous here.
No, I would say the feeling of yes, we're gonna make it big, or feeling of yes, we are gonna be unicorn was right from day one, because we started this seeing great problems, and these problems were very recurring, right? And this recurring problem has been there for a while as well, and we thought, okay, why people are not approaching in a different way? And yes, we also knew certain companies who are approaching different way and they failed, right? So that's why we thought we have got certain things that is very, very different from the as an IP that we hold currently, right? As an USP, right? Helping anybody set up the entire data infrastructure in a 1 month time, which we actually could do it with beta itself, gave us a feeling that okay, if we are able to get the right positioning and right market to focus on, I think we're gonna make it as a unicorn over there. So that day itself was we were like, yes, we are not hitting something short here. We are definitely aiming something big and high. So that feeling has been there for from the beginning itself, and that's we are going with the same feeling still today, right? But I think the moment came when we converted the first customer, and the first customer converted to the second, and when we started making the recurring business out of that. I mean, I'm not telling that we do have a huge list of customers over there, but from what we started, from where the beta was launched and the pandemic, after that the first customer to second, the people tell 0 to 1 is the difficult task, and 1 to 10 is the next, then it's the 100, right? I think that first 0 to 1 was something that gave us a pretty good boost, and 1 to second customer gave us a great feeling that, oh yes, we're going to scale from here. I think
Yeah.
that's where we thought, yes, we're going to make it really big here.
Yeah, and I want to move forward and kind of paint a picture of what that unicorn will look like, what that
Correct.
beautiful, glorious unicorn or decacorn in your case, which is going to be a $10 billion plus company, is going to look like. But just what's incredible here is just how little money you've had to raise to be able to do such an incredible amount of development. How have you managed the raise alongside? Because for all investors will know this, and most entrepreneurs will know this, but we always get a few new listeners in who maybe are not familiar with how this works. You have to be an incredible money raiser, and you have to be an incredible business developer and company builder. You have to be both. You can't just have one, right? And so you have to make sure that the money that you're raising is enough to be able to do the development that you need, but it's not too much so that you don't dilute your holding in your
Yeah.
company way too much. So talk to us a little bit about how you balanced that and how you managed to bring in money all of the way through.
I would say initially it was the founders putting the money. We bootstrapped ourselves, thinking that okay, I mean, we would be able to raise our seed very soon, right? But with the current situation, with the pandemic, a lot of economic thing changed over there, right? So we managed to get an angel. I mean, I would say it's a pretty much the right decision that we made at a very difficult time. It was slightly before the pandemic as well. Pandemic started, when we had a basic MVP ready, where we showed to the initial enterprises to generate their interest as well. We went to the angel and told, hey, this is the case we are, and we just want small amount of money to kind of get the product built over there. And where we initially raised a small amount, a small token amount to kind of help us get through that phase, right? So I would say that's very crucial, as an entrepreneur, and to keep the team going forward is very crucial to kind of raise the money at the right time, right? I think we raised the money at the right time, but if the pandemic was not there, I think probably I would say we would have raised the money at very, very perfect time as well, right? But it kind of had to burn out a bit because of the pandemic situation and some of the things which was not supposed to happen, right? But we first raised the angel, then after that, I would say the whole ecosystem changed, and the investors who actually gave us a very good commitment, telling, okay, hey, once you had the beta, we would probably be able to kind of take it next, all kind of backed out. I mean, that was the worst case that happened with us, where I'm not blaming any investors here, the situation of that, right? So, and at that point of time, we had to kind of keep pushing us ourselves to build the product better. So that's what we did. And once we had that, I would say, the greater investment is the customers themselves. And when customers started paying us, that's where I've got a pretty good feeling. And now I would say, we're in a position to, going for the better and bigger raise currently.
Oh, and I have to say, like, I don't want to be pleased because of the pandemic, because it was a terrible thing. But from an investment perspective, we did great. Like, we got to invest in you. I'm so happy we managed to put the money into you. There was no doubt in my mind. Like, our investment decision was so simple. We have exited entrepreneurs. We have an all-star team. This is like looking at the Lakers basketball team and say, we got like an all-star leading it, two all-stars leading it. Plus we've got a bench that's so deep that my B team can beat 95% of the other teams out there. We have a market where the timing is perfect for proper data improvement, data integration, whereby it's done in an automated way and companies can make better decisions from it. You've also got a market where the amount of money being raised for companies with good traction is phenomenal. And when those companies are in deep tech, you can multiply that by 50. So it's just ready for you. You're in the US now. We've already invested in you. There are a ton of other investors who are going to see what you're doing over here. And there's no doubt in my mind we're going to bring in a stack of like the bigger firms coming through. And I want to talk about the terms when we finish up, but I just want to, just before that, paint me a bigger picture of what this unicorn looks like. How many companies are going to use this? How much are they going to be paying? How much are you going to bring in? Like, show me that beautiful, glorious picture of the unicorn with its hooves up in the air and showing every investor here what a $1 billion to $10 billion outcome looks like and when that's going to happen.
No, I think as an entrepreneur, when we started, we truly believed data is the next big thing and data is the next digital revolution. And our vision was to empower every organization and every business decision maker to bring in that data-driven initiative across the organization, right? Without having to worry too much about their existing team or existing technology or even the budget per se as well, right? So the way we have built the entire platform, I would probably put it as a platform rather than a product, because what we're creating is an iPaaS, integrated platform as a service, and that's the future. And we truly know that, right? And looking at that, I would say, every organization needs to use their data for a better outcome over there. And the way we have created is a low-code data intelligence platform that would assist everybody, every organization over there to manage their entire data lifecycle, right? From data collection to preparing it, structuring it, and helping them build AI and machine learning models, all at faster, efficient, at the cost of less than hiring the entire data team. I mean, I would say, when the organization given the power of doing something better, efficient, and cheaper, I think there's no way we would be kind of staying back here, right? I think that's what we are looking at, and we currently, if you're going, I would say we are targeting organization right from their who are at the matured level of the data journey, or who have already started doing the data journey. I think that's the adoption that we are currently seeing, and we want to kind of empower them first and get to a stage where even a startup who want to kind of utilize the data that they have to kind of give them insight to do something better. Yes, we want to be in that position as well. So we have kind of opened up a couple of business models. One is focusing on the SMBs to the larger enterprises. The second one being focusing on the very focused D2C internet as a domain. And we want to offer them certain solutions that will make their entire data journey much easier and faster.
Incredible. And if you just imagine what you just said there, you're hoping to make every single organization on the planet the owners of their own data scientists, but without having to hire data scientists. Like, just
Right.
think about this. Think about, even as we take this down to its most basic level, of local shop owners being able to make better decision making because they have little baby bot data scientists inside their system telling them what they should do, all the way up to the largest companies in the world. Like, you become the underlying platform for better decision making globally. Think how huge that is. It's enormous. So
Absolutely.
for all investors, you got a phenomenal team put together. You've got a journey that you've just heard about where they've gone through everything they needed to go through to make sure that nothing is going to stop them. They have customers that absolutely love the product. They have investors, aka me, who absolutely love the company and believe this company is going to be a unicorn. Absolutely zero doubt in my mind. The only reason that anything could stop it is if a monster competitor comes in and they just put a huge bid on the company. Other than that, this thing is going
Yeah.
to go all the way. So can you share with everybody terms of the investment? So right now, what's the valuation that you're looking for? How much money are you looking to try and raise? Where's that going to take you to? And then what's that money going to be spent on?
Yeah, we're currently looking at 1 million as a seed round, the 10 million valuation, which would take us to get the entire platform self-service ready. So where we have this vision of making everybody use the entire platform, we're going to be ready in next 12 months time. And that's the roadmap we have kept for the product development. Parallelly, we do have certain commitment from larger enterprises to be our customers as well. I think it's not going to be waiting for 12 months to get it ready or to get the customers, right? We do have customers already paying us. We do have other customers parallelly waiting for us to kind of onboard them as well. I think that's where we currently stand. And we currently have a commitment of 250K as well, apart from the Expert Dojo, the investment that has been brought
Of
in. So we're
course.
currently, yeah, yeah.
Of course you do. You've got money. Of course you've got money lined up, and we haven't even started yet. So look, investors, be fast. I promise you. I'm not just saying this. This is not going to. This is not going to hang around for long. You've already seen the benefits here. Chatting for investors to be able to contact you directly from this from this podcast. Can you give everybody your email so that they can get you directly?
Yeah, it's a Chethan, Chethan @synctactic.ai. It's a domain name that we have. So I think I'm always available. I will always respond within just a couple of minutes. The email reaches my inbox.
Wonderful. And you'll see how Syntactic is spelled on the podcast itself. Otherwise, just reach out to me, Brian, at expertdojo.com, and I will happily make the connection. Big recommend from me. Chethan, it's awesome. I couldn't be happier that we're investors in you. It's like,
Always happy to talk to you, Brian.
it's the best because we're going to be rich. Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you
Listen,
so much.
keep on with the beautiful journey. Keep on doing what
Correct.
you're doing, and let's build this thing into a monster unicorn.
Absolutely. Happy to be part of this and do it together.
And that's a wrap.